Hey guys, it's Alexandra. I'm really excited to be talking to Sarah Hartshorn today. She was a plus size model on America's Next Top Model a few seasons ago, and she was also a comedian. So she's going to be talking about kind of the marriage of those two careers and everything about the show we're all dying to know. So I hope you will stay tuned. I think you'll love hearing from her, and you can feel free to subscribe below for more videos. All right, thank you.
So I came across you on TikTok, and I obviously was a huge America's Next Top Model fan. I was a binger of that show, and so I'm so interested to know like what that experience was like for you and how you ended up in the comedy world.
Despite the less than flattering bodysuit, it was really fun. And if you were gonna pick someone to teach you how to be sexy in a video, it would be Tyra Banks.
Tyra Banks, you got a critique that said that you started as a plus size model and now you're in between and whatever.
Right. Yep.
Is that the case? Are you a model still?
I think of myself as a model, and I hope that there will be people in the modeling world who will be willing to see me as a model. I'm definitely going to work to make that possible.
I was a model for a long time, but like it's been long enough that when I don't wear makeup, people don't believe me anymore. Like it's been long enough that when girls who are hotter than I am find out, they get really mad. They're like, oh, cool, 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 What kind of model? That's fair. No, because here's the thing. I was a plus size model. I was a contestant on America's Next Top Model. I was a plus size contestant. Then after that, I worked for many years as a plus size model, quit modeling, gained a bunch of weight, became a plus size person. Weird how those okay? Is that fun?
Yeah, I've always loved comedy, and I did it in high school, my senior year of high school, in East Hampton, Massachusetts. The hardware store had an open mic like every month, I think, that I used to go to, and I used to make like sketches and just like, yeah, I went to a very small high school, so like I did theater, but it wasn't like big musicals. We would do like Shakespeare plays and stuff. And so I always wanted to be the funny character and everything. And then I went to college and sort of didn't really pursue it and didn't really pursue any entertainment. And then that's when I ended up on the show. And then I was modeling. And then just honestly, it was the weirdest series of events that got me back into comedy. I can't even remember how the hell I met this wrestler who asked me to come like do an appearance at his birthday party, like a celebrity appearance. There were a bunch of reality people who had gone, and my friend Kimberly, who was on my cycle, Kim Lehman's, who's amazing, and she's having a baby and she's killing it. She's on the West Coast. She was like, yeah, you should come, it'll be really fun. So we went, and then that's when I met a comedian who basically just peer pressured me into doing an open mic, and then that was it from there. So yeah, basically a wrestler named Brimstone is why I do comedy. And yeah, I love it. It's my favorite thing. So I was doing modeling and comedy for a while, and then just ended up switching over to doing comedy full time. Yeah, I'm trying to even think. There were so many people from Top Model at that event. Claire Unabia, who I think she was on a cycle after me. Kim Lehman's. I think Whitney Thompson might have, maybe not. I'm not sure if Whitney and we became friends, I think a little after that. But so we would go to some events together. And yeah, she's great. She was a plus size winner after, I think the cycle after mine. Marvita, I think, was there. Yeah, just a very random cluster of Top Model alums. And then like, I think some like Rock of Love alums. It was a very weird event. Very surreal.
So how did you comedy is obviously something that seems like has always been close to your heart, but how did you even get involved with America's Next Top Model? Like, is that something that they scout you for, or do you?
No, a friend of mine talked me into it. A friend of mine was trying out and asked me if I wanted to come. And no one had ever even said like, you should be a model, because I've been pretty curvy since a really young age. I was like, I'm so sorry if you hear a weird skittering, it's my stupid cat. There he goes. He's the weirdest. I went with her to try out, and then I wasn't even sure if I was gonna try out. Like, I'd done an all-nighter the night before, and the audition process is insane. I mean, I tried out in Boston, and I think there were like 10,000 girls, and people get there at like, 5 or 6 a.m. I can't remember what time we got there, and they like open the doors at 10. They take you in like 200 at a time. The audition process is so crazy that I really wasn't sure if I was going to do it. And then I sort of got to the front, and, the person that was like in charge of it, or, was just sort of in charge of like herding the girls in 100 at a time, was like, are you trying out? And I was like, yes, let's do it. I don't even think I had high heels on. Like, and yeah, they take you in like 200 at a time. They line you up around this ballroom of a hotel in Boston. Like, you're like nose to the back of the person's head in front of you. And yeah, they make everyone take their heels off. And I was like, I think I was wearing Converse or something. And I like kicked them off and like didn't get any shorter. They had like a line of tape around the room that was at, I think it's 5'8". I don't know what it is now, but at the time I think it was 5'8". And so anyone that was below that, they made them leave. It's like, yeah, it's such a weird, and it was such a surreal experience, and very much not something that I had sought out ever before. Like, I think one creepy guy on a train once had told me I should model, but other than that, that really was it. And then they were like, you're the plus size contestant. How do you feel about that? And I was like, I don't know what that means, but I will find out and get back to you. I just had no, I'm from a town of like 700 people. And I mean, I'd been in college in Boston for a while, but I still was just like very young, very naive, had no idea what was going on. When they said plus size, I was like, okay, I think my mom got plus size Newport News catalogs. Is that what you mean? Like, and they were like, yes, just like that. And I was like, okay. So yeah, it was very surreal, and definitely not a world I was familiar with. And a lot of the girls on my cycle, like I remember Chantal saying like, God put me on this earth to do two things, to model and to make babies. And I was amazed, but like, I think a lot of them, yeah, had wanted to be models ever since they were kids. They'd been tall, thin, gangly girls, and that just had not been me. I'd been such a weird looking kid. And then, yeah, and then I got boobs when I was 11. So it was just a very different experience, I think.
So how do you go from waiting in line to being on the show? Like what kind of challenges do they put you through to decide if you're going to be on?
Well, the first day of auditions is really very random, which is why when people tell me, they're like, oh, I tried out, but I didn't get on. I'm like, do it again. Because honestly, like a lot of people end up on the show after trying out like 7 times. Cause it really is, it's not arbitrary, but it's almost arbitrary. It's like very, like, they pull you into the room 200 at a time. They narrow that down slowly. And then there's a callback the next day. And where I think you have to bring a bathing suit, and like they have you walk the runway, and then they have you say to camera like why you should be on the show. And it's so funny because they have you fill out all these forms that just have like your life story, and it's like, what are your jobs that you've done? And so I remember being like, at the time I was like a go-go dancer and a burlesque dancer, so I was like, I've done go-go dancing and I've done burlesque, and I've worked I also like worked at the Office of Disability, and then I'd worked on farms when I was a teenager, my whole, like, and a kid. I'd started when I was about 11, I'd worked on farms, and they were like, cool, that's the angle, go with that. You're a farm girl. And I was like, cool, I'm a farm girl. And they were like, tell Tyra why you should be on the show. And I was like, because if I'm not on the show, then I'm going to go pick blueberries, which was true. I was like, if I don't end up on this show, my summer job will be at a blueberry farm. Like, please let me on. I was like, please don't make me, go pick a bunch of berries. It sucks. And then, so that was, they do that. And then like a couple months later, they let you know you've made it to the next level, you're still not guaranteed to be on the show. They flew us out to Puerto Rico. They put us up in a hotel for a weekend, I think. And that's when they narrow down who's going to be on the first episode. And I don't know, I haven't seen the show in so long, so I don't know what it's like now. But then they had like, I think 35 or 40 of us that were on that first episode. And then they get narrowed down to who's going to be in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 13 of us in the house. So yeah. But they think they flew like, I want to say like 70 girls out to Puerto Rico. And then the challenges that they put you through before you end up on the show are you have to get a physical, they do a drug test, you do like 5 hours of psychological testing. It's like IQ test, you fill in the blank personality test, then you sit with a psychiatrist for about an hour. And then, yeah, I think they have you do the Myers-Briggs, like personality type test. They learn your whole family history. You also have to get a bunch of your family members to like sign release forms for your life rights. Like, it's just like, it's this very intense process, and that's how they narrow it down. So I think, yeah, a lot of people get narrowed down for various reasons. And I actually, they make you like, before they fly you out to Puerto Rico, which I didn't know that that's where they were going to, I think a lot of times maybe they go to other countries because they make you send your passport, and my passport had expired. So I sent it, I put my thumb in an ink pot, like a stamp
Mm-hmm.
thing. And I put it over the date and just sent it, and then went and got my passport renewed. Like at Boston Town Hall. And I was like, I need it now. They were like, it'll take 2 weeks. And I was like, I need it in like a week. I have to go. Like, and they were like, okay, why? Like, you can expedite it, but you have to tell us why. And I was like, I can't tell you why. I signed a lot of terrifying legal forms. And they also have you like sit with their lawyers. And that's a terrifying meeting, because they basically tell you, they're like, if you leak any of this information, we'll sue you, we'll sue your kids, we'll sue your parents. So yeah, so that's like the lead up to the show is definitely very intense and very weird. And that's when they narrowed it down to like 30 or 40. And we were on the first episode, and that's when they started filming. And we were on a cruise ship, but I think they do it differently every season. But there's like, yeah, we were in Puerto Rico, which was very fun. For the like 2 hours that we actually sort of got to spend any time there. The rest of the time, yeah, we were just filling out forms and in our shared hotel rooms and stuff, which was just very surreal. And everyone's so beautiful. It's so overwhelming. Like, I got off of the plane and I remember seeing like just this like herd of giraffe looking women, and they were so beautiful. And I was like, okay, well, that must be where I go. Like, clearly they're waiting for some shuttle bus. And yeah, the whole experience is honestly, it's so surreal, because they also never tell you like where you're going, like I remember I really had to pee, and they were like, no, you can't. And I was like, why? Like, you have a handler that takes you in between all these things. And I was like, I have to pee. And they were like, you can't. And I was like, okay, why can't I pee? Like, they were like, you just can't, we have to go to this thing and then you can. I was like, okay, but I like really have to go. So finally they let me go. Like, I kind of pitched a fit. Finally, they let me go to the bathroom, and then they're like, okay, let's go. And they walked me to the other end of the hotel, and they were like, okay, this is the physical, so you have to pee in a cup. And I was like, okay, I feel like you could have just told me that. You could have saved us a lot of grief. Like, because I absolutely cannot pee in a cup now. Yeah, so it's just very weird.
So, how far did you end up going in the competition?
I think I was the 7th to get eliminated. Yeah, I think I got eliminated right before the final 5, which is when they usually go abroad, I think, and they went to China.
So what do you have some of like your best memories and some of your, I don't want to say worst memories,
Yeah.
but
I think the best memories are just of like, we didn't get a lot of downtime at all, but maybe once a week we would get sort of like a half day, or sometimes even I think we got some full days off where we could like hang out and and just sort of like bond with the other girls. Like we had so many great talks, just like sitting in the floor of the walk-in closet of the house. And we would like, you know, make like pizza rolls or whatever and just sit and talk. And, you know, at that age, like most of us were in college or right out of high school. And so like, that's sort of a good time in your life to like make friends, and you're still like that you're figuring out what your viewpoint on life is. And so it's a great time to like sit and really bond with people. And there were so many like shared experiences that we ended up having, even though we were all so different. And yeah, it was also surreal that those moments of being able to like take a minute and kind of take stock of the situation with those girls was really amazing. I still talk to some of them. They're really great. And I think the worst was probably elimination. Those days are really long. Those days are about 12 hours long. So you have a really long shoot day. And then also the girls that weren't eliminated can't go back to the house until the girl who was eliminated like packs up all of her stuff. So I remember like when I was packing, like having this moment where I was like, oh my God, I've been there. I know they're just sitting in the van like for hours, you know, because you have to pack up all your stuff and film all your exit interviews. And they, you know, have to like take your mic and like it's a whole process to leave. And I was just like, I know what they're going through right now. And like, I'm trying to be very fast, but at the same time, like also I have to pack up all my crap. And also, you know, talk to a producer about the fact that I got eliminated. So definitely elimination days were rough. And even when you didn't get eliminated, the days are just so stressful. A girl faints every elimination. I know that like once it happened on camera and everyone was like, oh my God, that happens every episode. I was the first one. They told us on the first elimination day, they were like, look, a girl passes out every week. Like if you feel faint, please say something. And I was like, these skinny bitches, I can't believe it. They faint every week. That's so embarrassing. And then like 4 hours later, I was standing there and I was like, oh no, it's me. Like they try so hard. Like they give you juice. They try and keep you fed all day. And they tell you not to lock your knees. I guess that can help you if you're standing for long periods of time. So yeah, elimination days were stressful. Also, every week I thought I was going home. I think we all did. Like we would all, and you're not allowed to talk when you're not on camera. So we would all you just are sort of, it's just so much hurry up and wait. And the crew was very nice, but there's just not much they can do to like make it a not crappy situation. Yeah, I think that was the worst. I think I also threw up once on the cruise ship, but other than that, I think, yeah.
Do you have any of the challenges that were your favorite that you remember?
Man, I'm trying to remember. I think I won one, so I want to say that was my favorite. I think it was a makeup challenge, which is so funny because I love makeup now and I'm pretty good at it now, but at the time I definitely was not. Yeah, and I really can't even remember. I think it was with Nigel Barker's wife, I want to say. Also, we got to keep the dress. Yeah, that was a good one. That challenge was good because I won and we got to keep the dress, which I still have. And oh, you know what? No, I think my favorite challenge was the Benny Ninja one because we were on a trampoline and I scared the crap out of the producers. I had this bit with the girls that I had with my friends in college. It was this weird bit, which I can't really explain, but the bit is that I was a pregnant teenager from Alabama trying to figure out who was the father of my baby. And I was pretty sure I'd gotten pregnant in the back of a 7-Eleven. So it was like this weird bit I would do in the van where like every time I saw a 7-Eleven, I'd be like, y'all, we have to stop. That might be my baby daddy. We got to stop right now. I swear to God. So we were doing this challenge and it was like on a trampoline and I think we had to like pose while, and the challenge itself was like whatever, and I'm sure I definitely did not win that one. Anytime we had to like pose while doing something, I looked like, we had one where we had to pose like while ice skating, and I was just terrified because I had this like 5'6" man like hoisting me up in the air, and I was like, he is very small and I am very large, and this does not feel right. Yeah, so we were on a and that was whatever, but I was like, when it was my turn, I was like on the trampoline, and I think it was Bianca was like, Sarah, pretend you're Lurleen, be Lurleen on the trampoline. And I was like, y'all, my baby's gonna jump right out of my tummy. It's gonna come out my mouth if I keep jumping this hard. Y'all, I think my baby is just smacking his head on my rib cage, I swear to God. And the producers like heard, and they were like, is she pregnant? We tested to make sure she was not pregnant. And one of them like ran over and was like, are you pregnant? I was like, I'm not pregnant. I'm just being very weird. So I think that was probably me. Also, Benny Ninja was like the nicest. So that was definitely the best challenge, even though I definitely did not win.
So is everything, I always wonder, like, is everybody the way that they seem like they are on the show?
Sort of. Like, yes, but also they film so much. I mean, they're filming all the time. So it's like, I always say, like, imagine if you all of a sudden had, 12 new roommates and you're getting filmed 24 hours a day. Like, that's a lot of footage. So they have a lot to work with. So like I know that Bianca was like the bitch of my cycle. And she's not like a bitchy person. She just says every single thing that pops into her head. So like they had a lot to work with, because when you say every single thing but like, yeah, she just definitely has no filter. So like the other thing is they definitely pick people based on certain, like they, like I said, we did like 5 hours of personality testing. They know exactly how you're going to react. Like, they have so much data on you and they have so much footage and they're in control of the situation. Like, it's not that they ever like script things or had us say things that weren't true, but they did know what we were going to say and what we were going to do before we did it. So like, yes, but with a very big grain of salt. Like, like everybody said those things and those moments like were real. But also there's just so many moments. Like there were, I don't think they showed a lot of the bonding moments because it's not great TV. So like there were fights and stuff, but there also were like very sweet moments. So yeah, I mean, I think if you like take stock of 24 hours of your day, you act in a lot of different ways, especially when you're in a high stress situation. So yeah, but then again, also like a lot of people were strategic. I'm sorry, was that me? That might've been my computer. Like I think Bianca was a little bit strategic. Like she does say every single thing that pops into her head, but she also knew that like conflict does get you more screen time, which I think was probably smart. But I also think she's like she's a lovely, like really good person. And a teacher now, I think.
Oh.
I think, or an educator. I'm not sure what she does. She does something helping kids though. So yeah, she's amazing.
So what about like Tyra and the judges? Were they like, did you guys really get to know them as much as it seems like you do on the show, or not too much?
Not real. No, we didn't really get to know them. No. And it's interesting. I actually just found this out because we did get to know like Miss J a little bit, because we did spend more time with them, and also Mr. J a little bit, although I think he had some personal stuff going on because he was pretty checked out when the cameras weren't on, not in a bad or rude way, but just like I think he had a lot going on and was sort of like dealing with that when he wasn't on camera. So a little less so, but we did get to know Miss J pretty well. I think maybe when they went abroad, I think they get more time with the judges than just the eliminations, because those days are very long, but they do spend a lot more time talking to you than makes it on camera. Like it looks so short, but they really go over your photos and they really talk about it. And like, I was really surprised that they didn't show a lot of the moments. Twiggy really didn't like me. And they didn't really show that at all. She was like, yeah, I just don't care for your face. And I was like, cool, that feels great to hear. Thank you. I was so surprised because I was like, that seems like, I don't know, like good TV. Although maybe it was just because I didn't know how to react, because I would just be like, okay, that's fair. I'm not a huge fan of it either, you know? And I think maybe they wanted more of a reaction, but also like, it's sort of hard to get to know someone on a set like that. That's why like they definitely tried to make sure that the girl, like we would have time like off set, you know, even if we were just like at a challenge, like they would try and just sort of have time where we were just like hanging out, because that's when you get to actually like get to know people. So we got to know each other a lot better than we got to know the judges. But I think that that is not true for like the final like 5 and the final 3.
Mm-hmm. So Tyra doesn't really get super connected to individual people until like the much later rounds.
Yeah. And I mean, also, I think it's very different now. I'm sure it's very different now because Ashley Graham is hosting and she might have a totally different style. Yeah, Tyra was also like very involved in every aspect of that shoot. So, you know, when you're a producer and hosting, it's hard. Like she's just being pulled in every direction. So like, even when we had like a couple like scenes where we were sitting and talking with her, but then like, you know, then she's like dealing with the cameras and all of just the logistics of the shoot and stuff. So she really was very hands-on. I know that, like, it very much was her show. She was not at all like a figurehead, at least, you know, for my cycle. But yeah, I think she's just someone also who plays it very close to the chest. Like, I don't think a lot of people get to know Tyra very well until you like really, you know, like I think she has a very tight inner circle and that's about it. Mm-hmm. Which I get, you know, I respect that. But yeah, I did her talk show. Like I modeled on her talk show a couple times after that. So I did spend some time with her, but I don't super feel like I got to know her, you know? Yeah. Even though she's like very nice, it's not like she was always very nice and very friendly, but definitely sort of plays it close to the chest, I think.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So what happens once you're gone? Like what happens once you get kicked off, as far as like, I always figured people get their names out there by being on the show. So once you leave, I would assume your modeling career is not just over. So how did your career continue or change after that?
Well, I had sort of a weird situation because I cut my hair off and I was a plus size contestant. So so you're not allowed to pursue anything before the show airs. So it shot over the summer and it didn't air until October. So you're not allowed to do anything then. And there are a lot of rules. I can't remember even if you're allowed to talk to agencies. You might be able to now, but I don't think I was allowed to. I feel like I wasn't allowed to at the time. So I did transfer. I was in school in Boston. And I transferred somewhere so I could be near New York City, so I could be near the agencies. But the problem is that I then, you know, went to agencies and they were all like, well, you have to come back when your hair is long. So they wouldn't sign me because my hair was short. At the time, they really didn't have plus size models with short hair. I think now maybe they could. The industry is different. But at the time, like really the only work for plus size models was catalog work, which I now am grateful for because you make a lot more money that way. High fat, like editorial stuff, like doesn't pay well at all. Like I remember one week I had 2 shoots. I had one that was for like a Vogue magazine. It was for Italian Vogue and it paid like $150, which is just not very much for a shoot. And catalogs pay like, you know, almost 10 times that. So now I'm very grateful, but at the time I was like, what do you mean? Like all I can do is catalog and I can't do catalog because my hair is short. So I had sort of a different situation where I had to wait until my hair grew out. But usually, you go and you meet with agencies and agencies will look at the top model photos, but the clients usually don't. Usually you have to redo and do a bunch of test shoots because clients want to see pictures that show off like really what you look like without like extreme makeup or like extreme effects, just because they want to know like basically like the template that they're working with. So like I showed agencies my top model photos and they were like, these are beautiful, don't show these to clients. They were like, these are great and that's fun and you can like keep them in your book once you build it up, but like you have to have other photos. So yeah, I think it's also different now with social media, because like I know a lot of agencies won't even sign girls if they don't have like 10,000 followers or something. But at the time, yeah, I just kind of had to sit and cool my heels for a while because my hair was short.
Right. So do you think that since you've been on the show, do you think the plus size modeling world has changed at all?
So much, so much. And in some ways for the better, but in some ways not. It's been really interesting because when I started plus size modeling, the ideal size was a size 14. Like that was what all agencies wanted. You could be less or more than that. You could be like up to an 18 and still work a lot. And I was like a size 10 and I got work, but you know, like on their website, it would be like this, like the ideal was like a 5'10", size 14, and like, you know, with hourglass measurements, just with like a 10-inch difference between your like hip and bust and waist. And that changed a lot because plus size model became a lot more mainstream, and like H&M, I remember that this was a big deal, was H&M used a plus size model in their campaign. This was like almost probably 8 years ago. And her name's Robin Lawley and she's amazing. But because it was becoming mainstream, they actually got smaller. So the ideal size became like a size 10, 12, and that's what it's at now. So I think also what's happening now is like people are pushing up against the idea that there is like an ideal size even really, and they're like trying to blur the lines between, like there are a lot of agencies that don't have like, it's called straight size. Straight size is like when you think of a model, it's size 0 to 4 or 00 to 4. And then they usually have like curve boards or plus size boards, and they call them different things, but they usually have two very distinct boards, and it's size 00 to 4 and then size 10 to 18 usually. And there are now some agencies that are like, screw it, we're not going to have two different boards. We're just going to have one board of models of all sizes. So they have girls that are like size 6 and size 8. And I think that that is great. And I think it's good that like models of all sizes are becoming more mainstream. I just think it's important that we keep including people that are like size 16, size 18 and above. I know like there are some great models and activists who have done work in that, but yeah, the industry is very different now because social media is also a factor. And it's a lot easier for plus size models to sort of like express themselves. Like we used to all have to have long hair, no tattoos, no piercings, no weird hair, nothing really to like be distinct. You know, we kind of had to be like bland catalog girls, which is fine, you know, and it was great. But I just think it's nice now that I think models get to have a little more personality and like bring something unique to the table if they want to.
Definitely. And do you think like on the other side of your life, do you think the comedy world has changed at all since you started getting involved in that?
That's sort of harder to know. I think so. Yeah, for sure. I think so. I think also because so many of the gatekeepers in comedy are women, and it's definitely getting more diverse, which I think is great. But with modeling, it's like there's kind of a level of like you can work at it for a really long time and then achieve more and more success for sure, like someone like Ashley Graham. But if you're just trying to make a living, like, you know, there's a little bit more of a time limit on it. And with comedy, it's like you put in work for years, and you know, like I've been doing this for 7 years and I still feel like I'm not quite like breaking through yet, you know. And I'm not quite like I'm not even quite making all of my money and like paying my rent with just comedy yet. So it's definitely just a different like timeline. Mm-hmm. You know, like you have to sort of put in more years before you see a reward. Whereas with modeling, like it does still take time, but it's just less time. So So I kind of know less almost about what like comedy used to look like, other than just as an outsider, like anybody, you know, like, and from that perspective, then yeah, it definitely does seem like it's getting more diverse and better, I think. Partially because I just see a lot of my friends like going out there and being awesome, you know, and getting on TV with their like different, diverse, awesome faces. So,
Yeah. So, do you think you use any of the same skills in both aspects of your life?
I guess only in that, like any freelance job, you just have to have some sort of discipline and be able to like sort of set, like the thing about being able to set your own schedules that you actually do have to do it. So like, you know, yeah, just, yeah, it's like any freelance job. And just, yeah, sort of those kind of like time management tools and stuff. But other than that, like the actual doing of it, not the most. It's pretty different.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, modeling is sort of like acting, but I don't know. There's not as much overlap as they make it seem like on Top Model. They would be like, modeling is just like acting. And I was like, not really.
Yeah.
It's really, you got to move a lot for acting, you know, like, like all the time you have to be like in motion. If you stop and pose while you're acting, people think it's weird. So, but yeah, other than just like any freelance job, like, yeah, having discipline and, you know, setting yourself a work schedule and getting things done. And also like, yeah, outreach and sort of the boring admin stuff. But other than that, not a lot of overlap in skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So both, what I think is interesting, at least, is both of those talents that you have is or reaching people and putting yourself out there for, you know, people to listen to you and look at you. And, you know, it's not a very private, neither of them are very private choices of, you know, career. And I think there's definitely messages that people can take away from both of those. What do you hope that people are learning from you, or what message are you trying to send to people?
Oh man, that's a great question. And definitely speaks to the fact that I just have no boundaries. That both, I was like, yeah, sure, no, whatever. I'll just put it all out there. That sounds good. I think, I don't know. I guess the thing that I always try to remember, and the thing that I always try to like think about when I'm writing comedy, is that there's always more to it, like whatever it is, right? And so like if you are talking about someone's job, or if you're talking about someone's life or someone's experience, like there's always going to be more to it than you know. Everything is always like more complicated. So it's sort of like that saying, like, everyone's fighting a battle, and so have compassion, and like that's true. So just like, you know, if I'm like writing a joke about somebody, I just always try and remember like that their experience is more complicated than I could possibly understand. So it's sort of like the punching up versus punching down thing, right? Like people always say you should punch up and you shouldn't punch down. Like, don't make fun of those who are less fortunate than you. And I think that that's true, but also like, yeah, I just always want people to remember like that there's more to learn, and there's more to find out, and there's more to see about like people and experiences than at first glance. So, and I think like, yeah, as we diversify both comedy and the fashion world, hopefully, like, I hope that we can just sort of keep that in mind, and yeah, and have like an open and compassionate outlook as we do that. I don't know if that makes sense, but.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, it was so nice to meet you. Thanks so much.
Oh my God, it was so nice to meet you too. Thank you so much for reaching out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, keep in touch.
I will. Okay.
Thanks so much.